I'm Joe Gerlecz, and this is my story. My older brother and I grew up in a small Midwestern town, Sedalia, Missouri. Highlight of our year was, the Wizard of Oz in the fall, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then the summer was the big event, the Missouri State Fair, and we lived right behind the fairgrounds, and it was just a great time. It was just part of our childhood, part of our growing up. Around age 11. My dad came home one day, and we were, it may have been a little younger, but one of the things that we always did when he came home is we'd play catch. And this one day we were playing catch, and my dad was throwing the ball to me, and he was missing my glove by 10 or 15 feet. I mean, there was he could not throw it to me. And I knew something was wrong. I was a little kid, but I knew this wasn't right. And I said, asked him, and he kind of brushed it off and said he needed to maybe have an adjustment. But as it turns out, as things progressed, he had some type of a degenerative disease like MS. We ended up at the Mayo Clinic, and basically he was sent home to digress into living in a nursing home, and then ultimately ended up in a veterans hospital for the rest of his life. So around age 12 for me, and around age 15 for my brother, we were without a father, and that put all the responsibility on our mom, and she worked really hard to make sure that we had some normalcy in our life, and did it. I'm just so thankful for her, but it was tough for her. Went off to school, went off to the University of, it's actually Missouri State University now, Southwest Missouri State, then in Springfield, Missouri. Got there and got involved in a fraternity, and I came back from a fraternity function one afternoon, and was in a dorm room with some guys from my hometown, and I just was laughing and talking about all these cool fraternity things that we were doing, and they weren't saying too much about it. And I knew that a couple of guys were they were my friends, but they were very devout Christians, and they didn't they weren't criticizing me or anything, but I could just tell there was something that in that room that made me uncomfortable, about the things that I was talking about and the things that I was discussing. But I asked one of my friends, I said, hey, did something that I say, did it offend you? Did it bother you? And he just said, no, it didn't offend me, Joe. He just said, I'm concerned for you. And he said, I just think that there's more to you, and there's more to your life than being a fraternity guy in college. And he just real lovingly shared the gospel with me at that time. Another very critical, pivotal point in my life was when I came down to Panama City for my first time in between my freshman and sophomore year of college to visit my future sister-in-law. And the plan was to go watch my brother play baseball in, I think he was in Virginia at that time, in Roanoke, playing baseball for the Pirates. I was going to watch him play a few games, and I was going to drive down to Florida and just see Florida and visit my future sister-in-law for a week. I met this beautiful girl, and so I wanted to stay here. I wanted to get to know her a little bit better, even though she wasn't giving me too much attention. The other thing that was very critical is I was living in the pastor's house. At that time, he was a pastor of the church that we were going to, of the church that I attend now. And I learned so much during that time, and that week that I was supposed to stay turned into 4 weeks. I stayed the rest of the summer, and my salvation experience that I'd experienced not quite a year before that really was built upon by the experience that I had living in Apostle Ball's home, and going to church at the Rock. I was introduced into life of the Holy Spirit, being filled with the Spirit, all that meant entailed. I was taught about that. I learned about tithing, about finances, listening to Apostle Ball instruct his young 12-year-old son one morning. When I look back, I think about how I had my life planned out. I was going to go to dental school. Really gave Yahweh, God, no consideration in that decision, but He had a plan for me, and He was ordering my footsteps even before that day in our dorm room when my friends, led me to the Lord, and before He knew that I would end up in Panama City, Florida, married to an amazing, mighty woman of Yahweh, and so I'm so thankful for the way my life has been, and although our father was kind of taken out of the picture real early on in our lives, he gave me fathers in my life. My father-in-law Al Cobb was my father, and Apostle Nolan Ball has been a father to me all these years, and I'm so thankful.